Here's another must-have pattern to add to flies fished in the film when the midges are around. We're going to tie another midge dry fly, and this one is called a stuck-in-the-shuck midge. You know, when they hatch, come to the top of the water, sometimes they don't hatch fully. They get stuck in the shuck. This is a standard dry fly hook. I've got some 16/0 Vivas gray thread on there, and I'm going to use ice fur in rusty orangutan for the tail. The recipe I have actually calls for amber antron, and you can go for that if you want to. I kind of like the rusty orangutan. So I've got a piece cut off, maybe separated 10 or 12 strands. I'm going to clip that off even, and then I'm going to seat it on the top of the hook shank with a pinch wrap and wrap it down. I'm going to cut it a little longer from the tie-in point, which is going to be here. I'm going to cut it a little longer than the shank of the hook. And there's my tail. I'm going to tie in the shuck. Actually, it's trailing shuck, not a tail. I can call it a tail. I'm going to tie in the part of the shuck, and this is just some antron, kind of fibrous. And I'm just going to separate maybe 10 or 12 fibers. I don't need much. I just want it to be visible. That's about right for what I want. And even up the ends. And there we go. All right, now we're going to wrap it back down to the tie-in point of the tail. And I do need touching wraps here. This is going to actually turn out to be part of the body of the fly. We'll stop about there and then come back forward. And then here, and again, I mentioned this on some prior flies, with these small hooks, this is a size 20. With these small hooks, be careful not to crowd the eye of the hook. And clip and leave that little comb to tie in with, dull side toward the hook shank. Secure it down. Notice we are leaving body, we're leaving thread body between the tail and the shuck and where we tie in the rest of the material. Now we're going to take some Peacock Herl off a Peacock eye. We'll tie it in. And I'm trying to stay an eye length or an eye length and a half back from the eye. I got a lot of stuff to do up there at that eye. And now we're going to take 2 or 3 wraps of Peacock Herl and then tie off. And again, watch your eye. Clear your eye. Once we've got that, we'll take our Hackle tweezers and grab the end of the hackle feather. And then I don't want more than just a couple of wraps here. Notice that even though this is a size 20 hackle feather, this hackle tweezer grips it pretty well. And that's not to say I don't ever pull them out. I do. But in comparison to the others, I don't break or pull out anywhere near as much. All right, let's clip that off. Now, one thing I'll say here is I'm not trying to trim this out of the way. I'm pulling it back, moistening my fingers. And the reason I'm not trying to trim it out of the way is when I trim it, sometimes I leave little stubs that get in the eye. Move your thread back at the back of the head. Pull this tight and hold it. And then do a pinch wrap that pulls that down right at the back of the head and take a couple wraps over it. And then I want this the end of the loop even with the hook. And I want this sitting on top. When you have that done, go ahead and take enough wraps over it to pull it down, and then pull it back and take a couple of wraps over it to hold it back out of the way, and then cut it off. Grab a whip finisher. Now here's something I want to challenge you to do. Keep a little piece of 7/8 tippet on your table. When you tie one of these, it's this small, just occasionally, make sure you can thread your tippet through the eye. It's much better to test it here than it is to get out on the water and be trying to thread that darn 7/8 tippet and not be able to do it. This is a stuck-in-the-shuck midge.